Hey, welcome back to the channel. So today we're out doing a little testing. First of all, we're testing the DJI Mic Mini in the wind. I mean, it is windy today. I don't know if you can see these trees behind me, but I mean, the wind is howling today. So I got the old Mic Mini tucked underneath my shirt. We'll see how it does. Testing out the stabilization in the a9lll. Got the dynamic active stabilization on right now. Seeing what it looks like. From what I can tell on the stabilization, if you get the camera kind of settled in, it does a real good job of keeping the frame steady. When you do some erratic movements, it can look pretty bad. But if you're just kind of walking in a straight line, the camera set in one spot, kind of like this right here, I think it does pretty good. Kind of when you're walking straight, you just have the camera pointed straight ahead. I think it looks pretty good. I don't know that Sony stabilization is ever going to win any awards, but for me, the dynamic active is good enough, and even the active is decent. So, you know, they're good enough for me for what I do. I'm coming back here in my little section of the world. Nobody comes back in here at the Botanical Gardens. And we're going to talk about the a9lll, which I've had for a little over a week now. I've been kind of working on the color on the S-Log a little bit for the a9lll. I think maybe I have that worked out, hopefully. What I've been doing is I've been using the Sony S-Log 3 to Rec 709 LUT, just a standard basic LUT. And then adding just a little bit of my own flair to it. Not a whole lot, but just a little. But that's what I've been using for just a couple of test shots. And I think it's looked okay. I mean, nothing great, nothing special, nothing too spectacular, but good enough where it's passable and I'm happy with it. I'm not out here making movies or feature films or trying to win a colorist award. I just want the colors to look natural and pleasing. So that's what we're talking about today. If you're interested in any of those topics, I invite you to hang around and chat with me for a while. I got some notes here. We're just going to talk about the a9lll, kind of my shooting experiences with it, and what I've kind of noticed over the first week and a half of owning it, or renting it, I guess, for now. We hadn't really officially bought anything until the return window closes, so as of now, just a rental. First of all, I just want to say that I think the a9lll is a highly misunderstood camera. A lot of people just kind of assume because it can shoot 120 frames per second that that's pretty much a one-trick pony. I highly disagree with that. Yes, it can shoot. It is like super fast frames per second, super fast shooting, great autofocus, all that stuff. But it produces great images, in my opinion. Like, people like to bag on it for the 24 megapixels. I happen to like the 24 megapixels. I'm not gonna lie to you. Yes, you do lose a little bit when you use the APS-C mode. But then again, you're not having all these, gigabytes and gigabytes of files to go through after you're done shooting. Like, for instance, when I would go to a football game with an A7R5, sometimes I'd have like 30, 40 gigabytes of data. 24 megapixels is going to be a lot smaller file sizes, and it's going to just reduce your overall project size in general, and I appreciate that about the a9lll. And on the video side, it shoots excellent video. Now, I've had a little bit of troubles with the colors. I've documented that in the past, but you get in 4K 30, 4K 60, 4K 120, all non-crop, and that's just crazy to me that we're living in that world now. And for me, that's pretty much all that I can ask for in a camera. Like, I've tried other cameras with a lot of different fancy codecs and open gate and all this type of stuff. That stuff just didn't really mean just a whole lot to me. I'd rather have the 4K 30, 60, 120, full frame, no crops. That's what means something to me. So the photo specs and the video specs on this camera are just fantastic. It's not just a fast shooting one-trick pony, that is for sure. Sony has refined the body design on the a9lll first and the A1 0.2 seconds. I believe they're the same. And those refinements just make a humongous difference in the overall comfort of the camera. If you haven't held one of these new style bodies and you're in the Sony ecosystem, I highly recommend that you go at least try to hold one of the bodies in your hand. Just these little bitty refinements can just make a huge difference in the overall comfort. Just like the grip's a little bit better, the buttons are better, the angle of the shutter button is better. It's all just better. And that's not a massive difference. It's not a massive change, but you don't need a massive change. They just refine it just a little bit to make it that much better. And I really do like the new body style. And this one, as well, like came out with the A7R5, comes with a new flippy floppy screen that you can flip in all the different directions. And that's great. And here's one negative point on the new flip screen though. And when I was out using it, I noticed that I was wearing sunglasses, literally could not see the screen hardly any at all. Like when you're making adjustments and stuff, sometimes the font on the camera, on the screen will be like red or orange. I couldn't see that. And I couldn't see the controls like down the bottom, like the f-stop, the shutter speed and all that type of stuff. It was really extremely difficult for me to see. And as I get older, I realize that my eyesight is going fast. But man, I couldn't see it at all. And I was like, I must be going crazy here. What's going on? This screen seems worse than the A7R5. But then I watched a video by Manny Ortiz on the A1 II, and he noted the same thing in the A1 II, that the screen is dimmer on the A1 II than the previous cameras, which is bizarre to me, that they can put a worse screen in these cameras and they cost so much. So that's definitely a downside to the camera, the screens, man. I don't know what it would take. It must be a power situation. I really wish they would just let us boost the screen as bright as we could let it go. And if it's a battery situation, let me worry about that later. You have to be able to monitor stuff. You have to be able to see stuff in the screen. I really wish they had a better screen in these cameras. Since I mentioned that I, have purchased the a9lll or testing it out or whatever, I've got a lot of like, oh, what are you going to use 120 frames per second for? Like nobody needs that. Like, what are you going to shoot 120? What are you going to shoot that you need 120 frames for? And my answer to that now is everything. Everything is cooler in 120 frames per second, 100%. And I love shooting in 120 frames per second. I mean, coming from the A7R5, it is below your mind. It just blows your mind how awesome it is. Now I think that newness will probably wear off eventually, but for right now, I'm really enjoying the 120 frames per second. And I have it set up on the speed burst button on the side. Hit that speed burst button, boom, 120 frames per second. I mean, it is incredible. It is incredible. And then along with that also is pre-capture. Now, when I got to thinking about this camera, was looking at it, I was like, pre-capture, that's not really my thing. I don't know what I would ever use it for. Got it, started using it, and I'm like, where has this been all my life? Like, it's hard to explain, and it's hard to explain kind of how it changes things, and it's kind of hard to understand until you sit, how you would use it in your day-to-day, until you sit down and actually use it. Okay, first time I started using it, I got bird pictures that I've never gotten before with the A7R5, simply because I had pre-capture on. Once you see the power of the tool, you start kind of evaluating what it can do for you. And like I was thinking, like for baseball, this would be excellent, because like say you're sitting there, photographing the hitter. Well, you don't know when the batter is going to hit the ball, so if they run like a 15 pitch sequence and you're sitting there taking photos of all the pitches in that 15 pitch sequence, how many photos are you going to go through? Well, this one, you can just put the preset capture to like 1 second, hit the autofocus, nothing happens, just let off, and no pictures are taken. Do it again, the guy hits the ball, you hit the shutter button, and you recorded everything a second before that, and you have everything captured. It's such a powerful tool. And kind of walking back to the truck, here, and I did forget to mention one thing that is they introduced in the a9 III that's really awesome, and if you're going to shoot 120 frames per second, is invaluable. So when you shoot 120 frames per second, it puts all those photos in like a file, and when you go into playback, you can kind of thumb through just those photos, and then you can protect the one you want, and then from there you can just delete the whole file, but it keeps the photo that you want to protect. So you don't have to bring 8 bazillion gazillion photos into Lightroom and try to figure out the one you want. And that whole process doesn't take just a whole lot of time, and has been really invaluable when shooting 120 frames per second, which if you get this camera, you're going to be doing a lot. Trust me. Okay, and here comes some weird things that you kind of get with the global shutter, and things that may be a deal breaker for me. I don't know yet. And that is the ISO values of photo and video. For photo, it's 250, and for video, it's 2000. Okay? And those are higher than the standard 100 for photo, and like S-Log3 is generally 800 or 640 depending on what camera you're going to use. I haven't found it to be too big of a deal if I'm strictly shooting photos or I'm strictly shooting videos. The problem I get into is when I'm mixing the both or going from photo to video real fast. That's where I'm kind of running into issues, because like say you're shooting videos and you have an ND filter on because you're starting at 2000, you have your ND filter on. I have it all the way jacked up to 5 ND. Well, okay, now you're going to turn over and take photos. Well, you flip over to the photo mode, and all of a sudden you have a 5 stop ND filter on the front of your photos, and it boosts up your ISO even more than 250 because the scene appears darker to the camera than it actually is. So you're constantly having to adjust your ND filters as you go along there to make sure that you're getting the lowest possible ISO settings. So just kind of a little bit of a snag with using the camera for hybrid functions. I mean, if you're shooting video and photo at the same time, you're doing one, doing the other, you should be fine. Shooting both at the same time might be kind of a pain. And one of the things that worries me about this camera is low light scenarios. And I think that one of the things this camera is going to struggle with, or I've seen it in other videos out there, is the low light performance and noise in low light photos. And I'm not out taking pictures at night, you know, that's not exactly what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is when I go to take photos like at a sporting event, like you go to a pro sporting event, like the lights are all super bright, you know, you're not gonna have any problems there. You take it on down to the high school level, and some of the stadiums can be pretty dark when you get to them. You know, the lighting is just not optimal. So you get out there, the lighting's not the best. You have to crank the shutter speed up to 1,000 or so because you want to freeze the action. You know, the only thing left to go up is the ISO values. So the ISO values are going to go up when you have to do all that. And I think once I get into those type of scenarios, that that you're going to be introducing a lot of noise into your photos. That can be handled pretty well, like in the noise reduction software that's out there now. But you know, if you have 500 photos, you don't want to be doing it for all 500 of them. But like I say, I haven't been able to test that specifically yet, but I think that is going to be an issue maybe if I continue on with this camera. And another thing that I haven't been able to test out yet, and I love doing flash photography. That is one of my favorite ways to do photography, but I haven't been able to test it out with this camera quite yet. And the cool thing about the flash photography with this camera is it can sync with your flash at any speed, up to 80,000th of a second. And that's crazy. And what that means is you can shoot like at 1.4 or 1.2, set your shutter speed, you know, control the light with your shutter speed so you can go up at the 80,000th and still sync your flashes to your camera. And that is crazy, unheard of. If you have never shot with the flash outside before, or any kind of flash photography, I mean that is next level crazy. But the only thing bad about that is you have to, when you're going up with those super high shutter speeds like that, you have to go into and adjust a setting to adjust the flash settings in your camera, and you kind of have to toggle them up and down a little bit to make sure you're getting the correct flash settings when you hit those higher shutter speeds. I think if you did that repetitively, like over time, it would be super beneficial for people that use that. But for me, I'm not using it just a whole lot, you know. And I think if I got out into the field and was having to adjust some random setting, take test shot, adjust some more, take a test shot, all this and that, it might get a little bit frustrating, and it seems a little bit complicated to me. So just one thing to keep in mind with this camera, like, yeah, you can shoot with those high shutter speed, but it's a little bit more complicated than just, you know, going right into high speed sync and going from there. Anyway, that's just my thoughts of the a9 III after about a week and a half of use. Let me know what you think of the camera so far. Let me know what you think of the colors I got going out here today. Hopefully they'll be a little bit better than they have been in the past. If you've enjoyed the video, make sure you drop a like. If you want to see more content like this, go ahead and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and we will see you on the next one. And one more thing, while we're out here shooting on an Osmo Pocket 3 just a little bit, I'm using a K&F variable ND filter with Pro Mist built into it on the Osmo Pocket 3. Let me know what it looks like. A friend of mine who has a YouTube channel suggested this one. His name's Tim Brown. And what I like about this filter is you can keep it right on your camera. It'll you don't have to take it on and off every time you shut the camera off. So I never take the sucker off since I got it. And it's I think it looks pretty decent, and enjoyed it so far. But if you want to see, if you want to know anything about action camera, you go to my guy Tim Brown's channel. Dude, he's like the Gerald Undone of action cameras. I mean, 45-minute videos on action cameras. Like, it's crazy. He goes into it. So anyway, I appreciate him for introducing this filter to me. I think it looks awesome.